They say grief is a kind of anchor, a heavy, rusting thing dropped deep into the quiet seabed of your life. For me, that anchor was this shop, Vance and Son. 42 years of my life lived between the relentless tick-tock of 100 clocks, and now the sound was a mocking chorus. Every second that passed was a second further away from the man who built this legacy, my husband, Arthur. I was working on his favorite piece, a 1930s Hamilton pocket watch. He'd always said it was the heart of the shop. I wasn't really fixing it, I was trying to stop it. Because once it was whole, once it was running perfectly again, I felt like I'd have nothing left to do. No more excuse to keep his memory alive, piece by painstaking piece. I wiped a tear from my cheek and whispered to the empty room, "Get a grip, Eleanor. Arthur hated a mess." A voice broke the silence, sharp and far too cheerful. "Morning, Mom. Everything running smoothly, or are we still in the dark ages?" It was Marcus, my son, the son in Vance and Son. He was dressed in a crisp, expensive-looking suit, the uniform of the corporate world, not the greasy apron of a watchmaker. He didn't belong here anymore, but he still came, a calculated performance. "The dark ages," I replied, my voice dry. "I'm not on your schedule, Marcus. The heart of a machine takes time." He sighed, loud and impatient. "Look, Mom, I've got a crucial meeting with the development firm today. I just need you to sign the last of the paperwork for the liquidation." The word liquidation hit me like a physical blow. I finally looked at him. Where Arthur's eyes held patience, Marcus's held only ambition, a cold, reckless kind of hunger. "I told you, Marcus, I'm not signing anything, not until I understand what you've done with the Heritage Trust." When Arthur died 2 years ago, the silence he left behind wasn't just the absence of his laughter. It was the sudden, awful silence around the shop's finances. Everything he'd assured me was set up. The shop, the small rental properties, our retirement were all protected in a heritage trust. A trust that Marcus, being a bright young financial advisor, was the sole executor of. "Mom, we've been over this 100 times," he said using that patronizing tone. "The trust was underperforming. I consolidated the assets, put everything into a smarter, more liquid portfolio." "Underperforming," I echoed, standing up, my hands gripping the edge of Arthur's old desk. "Arthur built those properties block by block. Where is that income now, Marcus? And why did the bank send me a letter last month about a default on the mortgage for this shop?" He flinched. That's when I knew the true size of the lie. "It's a technicality, Mom. It's a hiccup. The liquidation of this place, this dust trap, clears the debt. It gives you a clean break. A comfortable apartment overlooking the harbor." He gestured around the small, sacred space with disgust. "This dust trap is where you learn to tell time before you learn to tie your shoes. It was your father's life. Where did the rest of the money go, Marcus? The properties? I need to see the truth." He offered only an excuse. "The statements are all tied up in legal channels, Mom. Complicated stuff. Just sign the shop papers. Trust me, you'll be taken care of." Trust me. The word tasted like ashes. "No," I stated simply. "The Vance name stands for time, precision, and truth, Marcus. You have robbed all three from this family. You will not rob me of this shop." He snatched his briefcase and walked out, slamming the door. The silence rushed back in, but it was the sound of a war starting. Marcus had left me with a debt, a handful of lies, and a feeling that was colder and sharper than grief: betrayal. I needed proof. I remembered a loose floorboard in the office, Arthur's old hiding place. Inside, wrapped in an old cloth, was a single, slim, red leather-bound notebook, a personal ledger. On the first page in Arthur's hand, "To my Eleanor, if you are reading this, the worst has happened. Trust no one, especially Marcus. He has a weakness for the high stakes. The truth is in here. Be strong, my love." He knew it. He had been trying to protect me. My hands trembled as I turned the page. One entry dated 5 years ago was circled. Marcus's investment loan, $850,000, secured against the trust. He's bleeding the properties dry.
$850,000. The truth wasn't complex legal jargon. It was simple, ugly greed. Marcus had leveraged his father's life savings to feed his own secret, reckless life. The tears were gone, replaced by a fierce, protective ice in my veins. "You're a good watchmaker, Arthur," I whispered to the silent shop. "But I'm the one who knows how to make the clock strike." The day after Marcus's threat, I went straight to Mr. Hahn, Arthur's old confidant, a retired, brilliant forensic accountant who understood ledgers better than he understood the Mandarin newspaper he read daily. I slid Arthur's red ledger across the table. "He drained it, Mr. Hahn," I whispered. "The whole trust. It started 5 years ago. He used the deeds to properties Arthur bought as collateral." Mr. Hahn studied the book. "Marcus is a fool, Eleanor. A talented fool, but a fool. These transactions, this is structured. This money was pulled out, not lost in a market crash." He pointed to a series of shell corporations. "The trail ends here, locally, under a company called Knox Acquisitions." Knox Acquisitions, the notorious developers tearing down half the city. "Marcus is too small for Knox," Hahn said, his voice dropping. "Marcus is the key that unlocked the safe. Knox is the one who hired the locksmith. Your son is tied to organized, powerful greed." I realized I had to work outside the legal system Marcus was using to cover his tracks. I became a shadow. I learned the ugly, frantic rhythm of surveillance. I waited for Marcus to come home to his high-end condo. When his dark, expensive sedan pulled up, I saw him get out, walking with that arrogant stride. Then the passenger door opened, Serafina, flawless but cold. I saw him not as my son, but as a willing accomplice who had sold his own soul for this temporary luxury. Mr. Hahn helped me find Chloe, Serafina's younger, kind-hearted sister, studying law at the city college. Posing as a worried family friend, I met Chloe at a campus cafe. "I'm just worried about Marcus," I began, my voice soft. "He seems stressed." "Marcus is always stressed, Mrs. Vance," Chloe admitted. "He keeps talking about how the Knox deal has to close before the end of the month or the whole wedding budget collapses. He says he has all the paperwork for the final property transfers he needs to sign off on to get his massive bonus." The final property transfers. My shop. "And where does Marcus keep all these important papers, Chloe?" I asked casually. "He keeps everything locked up tight. He visits a safety deposit facility downtown, the old municipal building one, I think. He goes every Tuesday morning, like clockwork." Marcus wasn't just bleeding the trust. He was preparing the final severance package for Knox. He was going to sign away my home, take his cash, and disappear. But he'd forgotten one thing. He left the Watchmaker alive. Mr. Hahn confirmed that the Vance & Son deed is the last unencumbered title on that block. Without it, the entire multi-million-dollar Knox scheme collapses. Marcus is under a deadline, Hahn stated, and the documents that connect Marcus's initial fraud to Knox's current scheme are in that safety deposit box. I pushed away the last vestiges of maternal forgiveness. My revenge had to be precise. I remembered something Arthur taught me. The best traps are the ones they've forgotten how to look for. They'll never see the ghost in the machine. I showed Mr. Hahn Arthur's hidden security feature, an analog recording device concealed inside an old mantel clock. "Marcus needs to believe he has won," I explained. "I will tell him I'm ready to sign the papers, but that I need him to come tonight to witness the final inventory of his father's hidden assets, including the original signed title to this shop. You're using his own greed against him, Han noted. He won't be able to resist, I agreed. He'll confess to everything to gain control, and Arthur's old clock will be listening. It was time to set the mechanism in motion. I called Marcus at 7, my voice wavering perfectly, the sound of an old woman finally broken by debt. He arrived by 10:30, smelling of rain and expensive scotch. "This is ridiculous, Mom," he snapped, irritated. "Where's the deed? I'm not playing games." "It's not a game, Marcus. It's the inventory. I'm not signing away my life's memories without an accounting. The debt you racked up, Marcus, that's the difference." I pulled the red ledger from under a map and placed it on the desk.
"Where did you get this?" he hissed, trying to snatch it. "This is truth," I countered. "Arthur kept this. He knew you were using the properties, even before he died. He knew you had taken a loan, using his assets as collateral, secured against Knox acquisitions." The moment of cold ambition evaporated, leaving only terror. "It was a temporary transfer. I was going to pay it back. I was trying to save us from this dust," he shouted. "You weren't saving us," I stated, my voice like ice. "You were buying a life of lies. You need this last deed, the deed to my home, to finalize Knox's illegal zoning deal and get your final payoff. Isn't that right, Marcus?" He finally surrendered to the truth. "Yes," he said, heavy with self-pity. "Knox offered me the world. I need it out, Mum. This life, the oil, the dust, the ticking, it suffocated me. I lose everything if I don't close this deal." He pleaded for me to sign it. "I have the final signed contracts, the ones that incriminate Knox, locked in the municipal bank safe deposit box. I'll give you double the money. Just sign the deed now." He had given me the final, necessary piece of evidence, not just the confession, but the precise location of the hard evidence. "You see, Marcus," I said softly, "Arthur was a good watchmaker. He knew the value of precision. He knew when a part was rotten, you had to replace it before it broke the whole machine." I took a final, long look at my son. The love was a dull ache. "I won't be signing the deed, son. I'll be saving the machine." I picked up the mantel clock, holding it where he could see the hidden recorder. Marcus stared, his face contorted in a silent scream of impotent rage. He knew he was finished. He lunged for the clock, but I dodged him, stepping out of the office. "Stay away from me," I warned. He stopped, watching his false world collapse. "The time has run out, Marcus," I whispered. "The shop stays, and you go." Marcus had given us the where and the why. Now Mr. Han and I had to execute the how. Knox's lawyer was scheduled to liquidate the contents of that safe deposit box by noon. We had a 3-hour window. I dressed as a paralegal, and Han, disguised as a nervous courier, created chaos in the lobby of the municipal bank. He caused a commotion by presenting fake court injunction papers. While guards swarmed him, I slipped toward the vault entrance. I didn't have Marcus's key, but I had Arthur's knowledge. I approached Vault Box 412. Arthur had complained about its faulty tumblers years ago. Using a thin dental pick, a tool inherited from Arthur's early days, I picked the lock. It took less than 90 seconds. Inside wasn't cash, but a manila envelope containing the original stapled contracts and the handwritten notes detailing the zoning bribes paid by Knox. I tucked the envelope inside my briefcase and slipped out, just as Han finished his performance and was detained. We didn't go to the police. We went to the only institution a true predator like Knox feared, the public record. We met with Eleanor Vance, the city's top investigative journalist. These documents prove that Harrison Knox secured the zoning for the riverfront project through illegal payoffs, and they prove my son Marcus delivered the stolen assets to make it happen. My son needs to face justice, but Knox needs to be stopped. Eliza looked from the evidence to me. "Mrs. Vance, you have given me the story of the decade. We run it tonight. They won't have time to bury this." The downfall was cinematic. I watched the news coverage from the shop office. At the groundbreaking ceremony for the Knox Riverfront project, massive digital billboards surrounding the square suddenly displayed the headline, Vance Legacy Looted, Knox Conspiracy Unravels. The crowd noise died. Knox's face was ashen. Marcus looked wildly around for an exit. Two black unmarked cars pulled up. As officers cuffed him swiftly, Marcus looked toward the news camera lens. He didn't scream or deny it. He simply stared, the ambition finally dead in his eyes, watching his entire false world disappear. The last image of Marcus Vance as a free man was his face, pale and ruined. The fallout was swift. Knox was indicted. Marcus took a plea deal, facing years in prison for fraud and conspiracy. The shop, the last piece of the trust, was legally secured, transferred back into my name. I sat down at the workbench. The air no longer smelled of desperation. It smelled of brass, clean oil and honor. I had finished the Hamilton pocket watch the night I set the trap. I flipped it open, and the sound of its strong, steady escapement was a testament to what endured. I hired Leah, a young apprentice from the local college, fascinated by mechanical movements. Patience, Leah. Time is not your enemy. You don't force the spring, you guide it. The Vance name isn't about money anymore, Leah. It's about precision and endurance. I never visited Marcus in prison. I sent him one letter, wishing him a quiet road ahead. I had delivered my justice, and I had honored Arthur. I looked at the Hamilton pocket watch, the final symbol of my redemption. It was running perfectly. You gave me the tools, Arthur, I whispered to the silence. And you taught me that every broken thing, if you respect its nature, can be put right. I closed the lid of the watch. I stood up, switched off the single brass lamp, and walked toward the front door. I locked it, not with the fear of loss, but with the quiet certainty of possession. The time for grief was over. The time for living, for building something new on a foundation of truth, had finally, gloriously begun.